I got a new selfie stick because I know I've been a bit lax with my equipment and I've just had the same camera angles over and over and over and over and over again, so I thought you were probably getting a bit bored, and I thought, seeing as I got a new selfie stick, I will do a video because I've been thinking of all of the different things, like the mistakes that I've made of the hikes that I've done. So I thought I'll name some probably quite embarrassing, that's my dog choking by the way, probably quite embarrassing mistakes that I've made hiking, and hopefully it means that you won't, are you done? Make the same mistakes as me. First thing that I can think of that I did wrong was simply pack way too many things. I packed multiple pairs of leggings, multiple pairs of shorts. I had, when I was on the Appalachian Trail, I had a town t-shirt that I kept. I mean, it was nothing fancy, but I kept it especially for town because I was like, that's going to be my clean town t-shirt. Don't pack that much stuff, that's ridiculous. It's not worth the weight penalty. You don't need a town t-shirt, trust me. You will just be happy to be in town and you won't even be thinking about it. Similarly with boots, I took a pair of trail runners and boots because I wasn't sure which ones I wanted to wear. Now that's partly a mistake because I didn't research into the landscape enough really. I should have known that trail runners would suffice, but I just wanted to be precautionary and take both of them. Now I kind of have the excuse that I'm English, so when I went over there I didn't have as much of an opportunity to buy things, so I just took over with me what I had, and that's why I couldn't let go of them quite as soon as I should have, because I was like, well, I'll just keep seeing just in case. And also I didn't have, you know, that support network that would just post me out things as and when I needed it because I'm not from the country. So that's my excuse with that. But my advice to you would be not to take 2 pairs of shoes and carry them for hundreds of miles. Try and make a decision before you go and stick to that. So the next thing that I thought of is really early on I was carrying my water all day like an absolute numpty, and I have mentioned this in other videos, but I thought it was worth mentioning in this one. Just study the route ahead to check where your water sources are so that you can carry as little water as possible, because every litre of water is an extra kilo added to your weight. Just make sure you kind of know what's ahead for the day and where you'll be able to fill up, and of course pay attention to the current climate because some of the water sources might have dried up, so you might not be able to rely on them. Similarly, I carry too much food. It does kind of get to a point where it's counterproductive because you're carrying so much food that you're expelling more energy than you would be if you carried, you know, a sensible amount. So I'm gonna say about 4 to 5 days worth of food is on the higher side, but a part of me carried more because I am so bad with self-discipline that if I went into town I wouldn't just restock and leave. I would restock, have a shower, have a few beers, have a party, end up staying in town, spending too much money, which is fine if you've got loads and loads of money that you can afford to spend. So just be mindful that you're on a budget. But I went away from my original point. Yeah, you don't really want to be carrying days and days and days and days worth of food because the weight penalty is very high and you're carrying all this food to eat to give you sustenance, but because of the weight of all this food you're actually expelling more energy, so it starts to become counterproductive. This one's a biggie. I was not realistic with myself about the trail, and I think that's probably very common because especially if you've never done one before, you're like, wow, and you just imagine a culmination of every single day hike that you've ever done. So you sort of imagine you getting up and it being and feeling like every day hike that you've ever done, in terms of energy, in terms of sleep, because you slept in your home so you're not tired. But yeah, I romanticized this hike big time, the Appalachian Trail I'm referring to. So with it being my first major long distance, I wasn't prepared for carrying that weight day in, day out, heat exhaustion, sleep deprivation, dehydration, challenging weather conditions, injuries, foot problems, just general wear and tear and fatigue on my body, the mental challenge of it, because I probably didn't research enough. I know a lot of people that watched a lot of videos and I kind of didn't, and it's quite ironic that I now am making videos because I'm sort of a mindset where I try not to watch too much on trail stuff because I don't want the scenery and things spoilt. I want to see it for the first time with my eyes. But yeah, because that's my mindset, I don't think I'd prepared myself enough for how it was going to feel and how utterly exhausted I was going to be. I mean, hopefully this is something that you love so much that the benefits of it and how much you love it should outweigh the negatives. But yeah, that's definitely something that I didn't do to prepare myself mentally. I did adapt, but I think it would have been nicer if it didn't come as quite such of a shock to me. Oh yes, I did too many miles too soon. Do not fall into that ego trap. You can do them. We all know you can do them. You do them all the time on day hikes. You run like crazy. You might be a marathon runner, you might be an ultra marathon runner, but don't do it. Don't fall into that trap. And it's so easy because other people are doing it and everyone starts having this little mind game of like, no, I'm only doing 10 today, and then they're like, oops, accidentally did 18, and you're like, and you like kind of want to do it yourself, and it makes you feel weak because maybe you're the kind of person that hikes big miles, you're the kind of person that goes to the gym and blah blah blah. But trust me, you need to build up miles over time. Do not let your mind get the better of you with this, because what you're not used to doing is carrying all that weight day in, day out, week on week, month on month. You're not used to doing it. So start off with smaller miles and build up to it. You also probably naturally going to have areas like soft spots on your feet because they haven't built calluses up over time, and you're just going to cause yourself blisters. You may even give yourself an injury like really early on, and that is not, you know, you're going to be you're going to kick yourself if you give yourself an injury like a week in, 2 weeks in, and then you're going to have to stop anyway, which is going to slow you down, which is why you were trying to do the miles in the first place, to get ahead. So again, it's counterproductive. Something else I hadn't come to terms with was the sheer amount of rubbish I was going to be eating. Sugary, chocolatey, fatty nonsense. And that's purely because it's easier and it's lighter in some respects to carry on trail. Like noodles and freeze-dried meals are lighter than, you know, carrying a sack of quinoa or whatever, I don't know. So that also has a bit of a mental and physical toll on you. You know, your strengths are, you know, you get that sugar boost, but you also get that crash. So that's something that can affect you in quite a big way. And also you just get so sick of it. Like, I cannot eat, not that I was really loving Pop-Tarts anyway in my life, but the sight of a Pop-Tart now makes me quite sick. And also cheese strips or whatever. No. I did not do a what if something happens budget for myself. So I budgeted for each week or each day or whatever, and I, did my average. But I did not budget for what if I get shin splints really badly and I'm limping and I need to rest for 2 or 3 days? What if I twist my ankle and I need a week and a half in a hostel or a hotel? I didn't budget for that. I had travel insurance, which could have helped me a little bit, but sometimes the excess of the travel insurance is actually not worth claiming on it, or they don't cover certain things, so it might not have made it worthwhile. But yeah, that's another thing that I thought, to have a kind of what if fund, not just I can get by on this. So what if your equipment breaks? What if your shoes are just really not suitable for you and you're hating them and you want to swap to something else? What if your tent gets a rip in it? All different sorts of things that could require, like, a few £100 or dollars or whatever, and you haven't budgeted for it, and then you're kind of using your other funds that are going to take you through to the end of this hike on this this thing that's just happened and you haven't got the money. This is something that I didn't do on my most recent hike, which was check my equipment before I left. I checked my tent just to make sure there was no holes in it or nothing was going on with it, no rips, no tears, the poles were fine. What else did I check? I checked my rain jacket. I did a few checks on my bag, but what I didn't check, because I just for some reason decided that I assumed that thing was okay, was my stove. And as soon as I got out there on the second night of my most recent hike, I was like, my stove rubber that connects it to the gas canister has perished, so the gas is leaking outside of the rubber and basically causing a massive freaking fireball, and they can explode that way. So then I had to travel into town, and then I couldn't get out of town till late, which means I couldn't really get back on the trail at a decent time, and I was in England, so you can't wild camp, so I just ended up having to stay in a B&B. There were other reasons that I stayed in the B&B as well, but that stove that I could have checked and replaced before I went out, I didn't, and then I found out when I was there that it was blooming broken. Initially, when I was buying equipment for the Appalachian Trail, I was trying to save money on some things, and I don't mean choosing between the very, very expensive thing and the entry range thing. I was like scrimping on stuff, and when you're out in the wilderness, like, you don't want to have scrimped on any of your equipment because it's really important. For example, I bought a puffy jacket for like 30 quid, and I was like, wow, yeah, I've got a puffy jacket for 30 quid, that's more money to take with me. And okay, it was all right. It wasn't awful, but it wasn't hydrophobic down. It wasn't water resistant material on the outside. So it was just a little bit, what's the word I'm thinking of? It was just a little bit naff, like it wasn't good enough really. And subsequently I've now had to buy another puffy jacket. I also bought a hammock, and that wasn't me trying to scrimp because it was kind of pricey. That was just a bad decision. So I bought a hammock, and subsequently I had to get rid of it, and I bought a tent, which suits me much, much better. But I guess the overall message of this is, don't scrimp on equipment, and I mean really scrimp. I know everyone has a budget, not everyone can afford the top of the line stuff, and also do your research. Is a hammock, like, I kind of thought it was like fun and cute, like funny at the time. I was like, oh, a hammock, that would be great, like swing from the trees. I did kind of think it would be comfy as well, but turns out it just didn't really suit me, and I didn't really enjoy it because I didn't really look up the pros and cons of having a hammock. What you been doing? What you been doing? I'm recording all of this whilst walking my dog. My last point is I overplanned. When I was going out on the AT, and also I did it in the West Highland Way as well, I was like, day 1 I will stop here, day 2 I will stop here, day 3 I will stop here. And you're just like, it's not going to happen. Some days you might walk faster than others, some days you might walk slower than others. You can aim, you know, for roundabout certain places, but I was aiming for exact camp spots for like a week and a half in advance, and it's just not, that's micromanaging, and in a way it sort of takes the fun out of the whole experience, because you have it in your head, you're like, I'm a failure if I don't make it to this camp spot. I need to get to here today, which means I need to get to here tomorrow, and it sort of becomes like this mind game with yourself. So just give yourself a bit of leeway. Okay, it's good to aim for a certain amount of miles each day once you've built up, remember, but don't aim for exact places like 3 days in the future, because it's probably not going to happen. Yeah, so that concludes all of my advice, I think. If I think of anything else, I'm going to put it in the description, but I don't think I'm going to, because I did write everything down, so I've been checking. If you have anything else to add yourself, please pop it in the description as well, because I want to have a community as much as possible and people sharing information with each other. If you want to ask me anything, please do. And also, it really does help if you like or comment on the video, just so I can, you know, get validation and stuff. Okay, bye.